Donald Trump's new campaign chief, Paul Manafort, is trying to tone down the GOP frontrunner as it becomes more likely that he will get the Republican presidential nomination. CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist Leslie Sanchez joins me now. Great to see you.
Likewise.
Before we get to it, I want to start by playing a part of Donald Trump's speech from yesterday. He was speaking in Connecticut. Listen to this.
Yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, but he actually said, my campaign person was fantastic. I have a fantastic team. The original team now was supplemented. We have great people, Paul Manafort. And Paul said some really positive, and Paul's had great success with Reagan and with Bush and with Ford, and, you know, great success. He didn't have to do this, like I don't have to. He didn't need to do this, but he wanted to, because he saw something, and he called me. He said, this is something special. One of the biggest people in the country called me. They said, Paul saw something special. So he's working with Corey and Hope and everybody, and it's like an amazing group of people. And Paul was down in Florida, and he said, you know, Donald might be changing a little bit over a period of time, and maybe he'll tone it down, maybe he won't, but who knows what happens. I sort of don't like toning it down.
Tone it down. Isn't that the big appeal of Donald Trump? Why would he tone it down?
That's exactly what he's saying, and he's kind of trying to thread the needle on this, right? He's trying to say, you know, if I was really toning it down, there'd only be 300 people in the room. The fact that I'm bombastic and have this larger-than-life personality, that a la Hollywood reality television, is the reason I'm a survivor. You know, hat tip to Mark Burnett, who was the creator of those shows. So I think it's very funny and amusing, but it's a very serious issue. I think that's why the establishment and a lot of, I would say, more moderate voters who are folks on the fence are really suspicious about what you're getting. People don't want to bait and switch, so to speak, with a candidate. They want them to be consistent.
So what is Paul Manafort's real job here? What is he trying to accomplish?
He is trying to basically tie the two components together. He's to arm the campaign to look like a strategic, sophisticated campaign, true political operatives, good communications folks, and start lobbying to the extent these delegates so that they can bring them under the tent and ensure that they can secure the nomination before they get to Cleveland. He's also trying to tether it back to the Republican Party and say, really, he's going to be okay as the nominee. We can work together. The real issue, the undercurrent of all of this is, can you work with these candidates to get meaningful legislation move forward? Can they be the mantle, you know, at the head of the Republican Party and the platform that it stands for? And there's a lot of establishment Republicans who are scratching their heads, certainly elected officials who do not see it that way.
All right, let's talk about Tuesday. A lot at stake. What's at stake, particularly for Trump, and could he potentially clinch the nomination on Tuesday?
I don't think he's going to be quite there to clinch the nomination. It's still going to be up in the air, going to be very vigorous, but he is on par to looking like he's really going to have 5 successful victories all along the Mid-Atlantic. He'll continue to build along his message. I am the nominee. I'm ready to start shifting and focusing for a general election. I can bring the Republican Party together. What's fascinating, as you're listening to these focus groups and folks who are really kind of looking, people that aren't in the day-to-day like we are of politics, they got a lot of voters, I think, really look at this and say, you know, there's kind of the TV Donald Trump, but I think fundamentally he'll get something done. And it's shocking that the populace may be way ahead of the establishment in this in understanding what a nominee may look like.
What's at stake for Ted Cruz and John Kasich come Tuesday?
Ted Cruz is getting tremendous resources in terms of money and establishment support and trying to be the hashtag Never Trump candidate and really bring people together. He's had some success. He's really done a good job, but it's waning in terms of its support.
Is his momentum still there? What happened to it? I feel like we saw it, and then it seems to have
He's
diminished.
the only game in town right now. You're not hearing a lot from Governor Kasich in terms of slowing the momentum. Ted Cruz is certainly taking it to, so to speak, Donald Trump, but it's not having the effect that they want. I would tell you that a lot of folks are starting to feel the pressure with that because there's tremendous amount of third-party expenditures as well as these two existing candidates. They're putting all their firepower on one candidate, and he's still standing. So it has a lot of folks going, we have to try something new before we get to Cleveland, and now obviously everybody's looking at the political math in Cleveland.
Last week we heard Donald Trump say something kind of interesting. He would like to work more with Dr. Ben Carson and maybe Marco Rubio. Is that possible, you know, as we, get toward the convention? Could we see Marco Rubio come on board like we saw Chris Christie support him?
I think if you see this new 2.0 Trump campaign, absolutely. Nobody ever turns it down completely, other than maybe Kasich. But, for the most part, people tend to fall in line. Look, it's going to be a lot harder for the Republican Party not to accept a Donald Trump if he continues to get the support of delegates win these contests and steamrolls into Cleveland, it is really making for the perfect storm. And I think people are looking for the silver lining in this. Can he put somebody with credentials, for example, like Governor Kasich, on the ticket with him? Can he make inroads with a Marco Rubio? Can he show he can bring that bona fide strength of understanding Washington together with the hope and change kind of message and really get something done? He has to do that to prove he's a serious contender.
What's everybody saying to you, from the establishment? Are they still scared out of their minds?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. They put millions of dollars, never Trump, I think, though, many in the Republican Party, I've been out in the field a lot, are misreading some of this in terms of how many people are willing to accept a Donald Trump versus a Hillary Clinton. If you're looking at working class white voters, we've seen that consistently. I think people are going to be really surprised. There's a lot of closet Trump supporters. There are a lot of people who are still frustrated with Ted Cruz. The party has a lot of work to do to get the right mix, and that's where I would put pressure on the party.
But all the polls show that Donald Trump cannot beat Hillary Clinton. Do you think the party would eventually unite if that is their only choice? That's their nominee.
It's going to be a really difficult pill to take. I think it's going to have to, unless they can find some way in Cleveland to keep that from happening. That's always been the approach for the whole first quarter of 2016. It's how can we slow, how can we get to a political fight. Now you got Manafort in here. Now you're trying to make him look presidential. Now you got the 2.0 campaign. It's going to be extremely difficult to put all these pieces back together. But I will tell you this: the party establishment, the loyal voters who go out and do get out the vote, will fall in line with where they think the party, with where leadership tells them to be. So if the top part of the party can come together and establishment with leadership style and find a mix that works, the rest of the party will get in line.
All right, a lot to look forward to on Tuesday. We know you're going to be working for us very hard. Leslie Sanchez, thanks so much. And of course, stick with CBSN for primary coverage on Tuesday. Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island will all head to the polls for their respective primaries. Again, that's all happening on Tuesday, April 26th.